6,000 years ago, the emperor from Macedon is still a go-to figure when people want to define what an empire builder really was. But was Alexander a brave young man who ranks as one of the world's most astonishing military leaders, or a brutal character who treated both his soldiers and his conquests with contempt? And why does his legend live on so strongly? Rediscovering Alexander is nothing new. In classical Greece, in medieval Persia, the emperor is reinvented as a lover, an explorer, a figure to inspire and romanticize. Was it just that he was young and handsome, or is there more to the legend of the boy emperor? That's all coming up on the forum after the BBC News.
BBC News. Hello, this is Jerry Smith. The leaders of South Korea and Japan have promised to reset years of animosity in the first visit by a South Korean president to Tokyo in over a decade. Speaking after a bilateral meeting, the Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said they'd agreed to open a new chapter in relations, restoring regular meetings and deepening trade and security cooperation. Here's Shaima Khalil.
This visit comes after the South Korean president announced last week that he was going to resolve that long dispute over compensation over Japan's forced labor during wartime. President Yoon announced that his country was going to pay the victims and that Japan wasn't even going to be asked for a further apology. This is a controversial decision that angered many in South Korea, but here in Japan, it was hailed by the leadership.
The share price of the troubled lender Credit Suisse has soared after it said it would borrow up to $54 billion from Switzerland's central bank to shore up its finances. In London, Frankfurt and Paris, markets were trading higher as banking stocks rebounded after earlier falls in Asia. Wednesday saw a widespread sell-off around the world on investor concerns about the health of the banking sector, days after the failure of Silicon Valley Bank in the United States. Shares in Credit Suisse had fallen by up to 30% after its main shareholder said it wouldn't provide any more financial help. China has accused the United States of unreasonably suppressing TikTok after US officials said the video-sharing app should be sold by its Chinese owners or else face a national ban in the country. Washington says the app poses a national security risk because the data gathered from its hundreds of millions of users could fall into the hands of the Chinese government. A farmers' protest party in the Netherlands has shaken up the political landscape by dominating the provincial elections that determine the makeup of the Dutch Senate. The Farmer Citizen Movement looks set to win 15 of the 75 seats in Wednesday's poll. From The Hague, Anna Holligan reports.
Big wins for the left and right present major challenges for the centre-right government, now in the middle of powerful parties at odds over key challenges facing the Netherlands, such as the climate, nitrogen pollution and the asylum system. The Farmers' Party has tapped into a festering sense of unrest and uncertainty among voters across the country. Its leader, Caroline van der Plas, said simply, they are fed up.
Aid workers in Ituri province in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo say thousands of displaced people have been arriving in the regional capital Beni. They're fleeing a series of attacks by ADF rebels in the province. Attempts to crush the rebels have made little progress. You're listening to World News from the BBC. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime says global cocaine production has jumped to record levels. It says coca cultivation in South America rose by 35% between 2021 and 2022, and it found more people were using the drug in Africa and Asia. A court in Pakistan has refused permission for the main opposition leader Imran Khan to hold an anti-government rally in Lahore on Sunday, saying it should have been planned in advance. Police had tried to arrest the former premier in a different case, leading to violent clashes with his supporters on Tuesday and Wednesday. Our Pakistan correspondent is Caroline Davis.
The standoff continues in the courts and in the streets. While Imran Khan's lawyers try to argue against his arrest warrant, his party supporters are adamant that they will not let the leader of the PTI be arrested. Outside his home, Zaman Park, they waited with flags, sticks, and some with slingshots around their necks. Their numbers are smaller than yesterday, but supporters said others would join if the call went out. The number of cases against Mr. Khan has continued to grow, according to his team, now reaching well over 70. The authorities have been publicly infuriated at Mr. Khan. One government minister accused him of using his supporters as a human shield to evade arrest and stoke unrest.
The governor of Lebanon's central bank, Riyad Salama, is attending a court hearing in Beirut, with European officials investigating whether he embezzled millions of dollars in public funds. It's the first time Mr. Salama has appeared before French and German officials over the allegations, which he denies. Gianni Infantino has been re-elected FIFA president after standing unopposed at its annual Congress. The Swiss lawyer has been trying to raise FIFA's profile on the world stage. Some detractors, mainly in Europe, think he's become too powerful. BBC News.
Let me take you back to 333 BCE, to southern Anatolia, and to the Battle of Issus, the first encounter between the Greeks, led by Alexander III of Macedon, better known as Alexander the Great, and the Emperor Darius of Persia. This account is by the Greek historian Plutarch.
Fortune was not kind to Alexander in the choice of battleground, but he was able to turn this to his advantage. Even though his army was much inferior in number, he did not allow himself to be outflanked, stretching his right wing much further out than the left wing of the enemy. Fighting alongside his men on the front line, he put the barbarians to flight. Nothing was wanting to complete this victory, in which he overthrew more than 110,000 of his enemies.
It was a battle Alexander won against impossible odds. It marked the end of the great Persian Empire and sent shockwaves through the ancient world. Undefeated by the time of his death in 323 BCE, Alexander's vast territory stretched from Greece to Persia.
In the world. Well, the benefits of that deal were highlighted today as Rentokil reported a 27.7% rise in full-year pre-tax profits on an adjusted basis to £532 million. Well, shares of Rentokil, which also provides hygiene, workwear and cleaning services, have risen by more than 6% this morning. And tougher conditions in the residential and commercial property markets have hit profits at the property services group Savills. The company, which is one of the world's leading property agents, saw full-year pre-tax profits fall by 16% to £153.9 million. Mark Ridley, the chief executive, said he believed that the first half of this year would be more challenging than the first half of last year, but added that he expected a progressive improvement through the second half of the year, with 2024 seeing more positive conditions for real estate market activity. Now, HSBC UK's swoop for Silicon Valley Bank UK, which it's bought for £1, was hailed this week as a major boost for the UK's tech sector and startups more broadly. The alternative of SVB UK becoming insolvent had raised fears for tech and life sciences companies who risked being deprived of their capital. But what does the future hold for those businesses once the bank is owned by HSBC? Well, with me now, I'm pleased to say, is Ian Stewart. He's Chief Executive of HSBC UK. Ian, welcome to you.
Thank you.
What made you want to buy this bank?
Well, we're in this industry. We like the tech sector. We were very active last year. We've had two large funds totaling £750 million. Great take-up by customers. But, you know, on Friday, I did not think we would be buying another bank come Sunday. It was opportunistic, but it allows us, I think, to accelerate our strategy by 2 or 3 years. We're very excited with what we've got. We've got really good people. And I think we've got actually a very good business that's been well run in the UK. So 3 things we want to do. We want to, first of all, underpin the business, because I think that's important. We've already put 2.2 billion of liquidity into the bank. Give our customers confidence that we're doing the right thing. So deposits are safe. You've got the HSBC bank behind your deposits now, so please don't worry about deposits. And at the same point, as soon as we're through the underpin stage, which is hopefully a couple of weeks, getting into supporting the bank, because a lot of the infrastructure is still with the parent in the US, so we'll cut that umbilical cord and put our own machinery in behind that, and then as quickly we can get through that as we can, we'll be into growth mode. So that's the exciting part.
Give me a flavour of what it was like for you last weekend. I mean, there were other offers on the table. Why do you think you won out?
Well, we always thought it was a very competitive situation, and then right up until, I would say maybe 11 p.m. on Sunday, I still thought we were in a competitive situation. What we had decided, and I think we got to a decision internally around about 6:30 p.m. on Sunday, is that we'd done about 5 hours of due diligence, detailed due diligence, superb job by my team to get that done. Did we see any black holes? No, but we couldn't be absolutely sure. So we decided as a group that we would put what we thought was our very best foot forward, no government support. At no point was an arm put up our back on this. This was a wanted transaction from HSBC's perspective. And as I say, we agreed what we thought was a fair transaction, fair price, and we put that forward. And thankfully, at the end of the day, that was successful. But I think it was the speed and the liquidity we had at hand to step in and do a very, very clean transaction.
What about the quality of the loan book? I think it's got £5.5 billion worth of loans outstanding.
Yeah.
You won't be looking to call any of those in or change the terms on which those loans were given?
Well, first of all, thanks for the question, because it allows me to give our customers, comfort. We will not be calling in loans. It's quite interesting, actually. Our investment bank colleagues really helped us understand the loan book, explained what the bulk of the loans were. We got comfortable with that really quickly. It's quite a short-term book. There's bits that I have to say we were a little bit less sure of because we just didn't have the time. But by that point, I mean, we are a very large bank. We just put it through our sort of model, and we thought we can live with that. And we made a decision and carried on.
There was some commentary among tech companies and among the startup community after the takeover that SVB UK really understood the needs of tech companies and startups rather better than a traditional bank like HSBC. What would you say in response to that?
Well, we're in this sector. It's a sector we like. So that would be my first response. I think what we get from this bank, which I think is really, really important, is we get just more expertise. And I'm absolutely delighted that Aaron Platt has agreed to stay on as CEO, and we'll announce that more formally later, but I don't mind telling you that today. And Erin is a real driver on this business. And with the team that she's assembled there, I think we can really accelerate our plans and take that expertise and do other things with it across what is very much an international bank in HSBC.
Now, while we've got you in, obviously, Credit Suisse is in the eye of a storm right now. Do people really have anything to worry about contagion risk here in this particular case?
Oh, you can never say never, but what I would say, Ian, is that post the financial crisis, 2008, 2009, banks in the UK are in a very different place. And that's where you've got to really congratulate good, strong regulation. I know we sometimes complain about it, but it's good. And here we are now, we're in a safe place. Banks are very well capitalised, great liquidity pools. I think it's very different from 2008.
Good note on which to end in. Good luck with the integration. Come and talk to us again about it.
I'd love to
hear more about it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, turning to the budget now, and the Chancellor has confirmed that the rate of corporation tax will rise from 19% to 25% from April. But at the same time, a new policy of full expensing comes in, allowing businesses to deduct any investments that they make in full from their taxable profits. And the Treasury says that will be worth £9 billion a year. Well, joining me now is Siobhan Haviland. She's the Director General at the British Chambers of Commerce. Siobhan, good to see you this morning. I mean, clearly this is not as generous as the super deduction that it replaces, but it will keep the UK's tax regime quite competitive, won't it?
It will. So, increases in corporation tax, no business likes an increase in tax, but of course we know the Chancellor has to balance the books. So it was good to see a replacement for the super deduction in terms of that full expensing, that 100%, although it's slightly less than the super deduction. Look, will it drive businesses to invest more? Only 20% of our businesses are telling us that they are growing their investment. I think the jury's going to be out on that one. What we really wanted to see was some movement on labour and skills, which we did. So we saw a good package there on childcare, pensions and occupational health. But the other issue that businesses are still facing is, and they're really worried about, is what's going to happen to their energy bills when the package effectively is reduced by 85% at the end of this month.
Absolutely. And it was on that subject we spoke to the Federation of Small Businesses this time yesterday. They were saying something like 350,000 SMEs could be in danger. Why don't you think the Chancellor did something on this front?
So we feel the same way. 50% of our businesses are really worried about how they're going to pay their energy bills. And we very much asked the Chancellor to look at this. You know, the government say that energy bills are coming down. They are, but our main concern is, are those lower prices going to be passed on to businesses? You know, a lot of small businesses buy their energy like households. And, you know, this sort of cost of living and the cost of doing business, the two sides of the same coin, remember, Ian, you know, it's about jobs, it's about growth, it's about supporting communities economically. So businesses have huge costs on one end. Inflation is driving raw material costs, you know, labour costs, and along with these huge energy bills, it means that businesses are really struggling to invest. They're holding onto their cash, and that's not what we want to see.
Now, the other glaring absentee from the Chancellor's announcements yesterday was any news on business rates, which of course is another running sore for companies up and down the land.
It is. And if you think about, you know, what we really want to see is keeping upfront costs down. Business rates are a huge upfront cost. You know, you have to pay those before you sell a single thing. And actually, a total reform of business rates is what we've been asking for a while. That will help drive the growth of innovative businesses. And, you know, it may not be a question of just scrapping them entirely. You might want to run business rates a way where you know, tax businesses, new businesses less, and they pay more tax as they grow. And then the other glaring error, to be honest, Ian, yesterday was anything on trade, on export. I mean, if we're going to grow our economy, obviously we have one market here in the UK, but we have hundreds of markets all over the world. And we really want to see the government think more about how they can support businesses to trade and export.
Now, what about these measures to get people back into the workforce, in particular these sort of apprenticeships for older workers? Are your members going to be falling over themselves to offer these?
Well, all our members are keen in using lots of different ways to bring skilled labour back into the workforce. They're very keen on the current apprenticeship programme. It needs a bit more flexibility driven into it. So apprenticeships for people of all ages is a good thing. I mean, there's a rounded package here on childcare, on apprenticeships, on occupational health, on the pensions bit. So there's lots of parts of that. I think those things are going to take a little while to kick into the system. And remember, we still have 1.1 million open roles out there. So we'd also like to see the government do a bit more on shortage occupation lists. You'll see they will have announced some movement on those for manufacturing and construction. But how can we bring a bit more labour into the market on a short-term basis more quickly to help other sectors that are struggling, like hospitality?
OK, Siobhan, we have to leave it there, I'm afraid. Good to talk to you this morning. Thank you. Bit of breaking news to bring you. These pictures have just come in. This is the US Reaper drone that was downed by a Russian fighter jet over the Black Sea earlier this week. There's the Russian fighter. And there goes the drone. I'll play that again for you. There were reports that the Russian fighter jet was actually spraying it with gasoline before this incident. That looked like a bit of it there, actually, I think. The jet obviously then turns around, comes back for another go. Here it is. And that is that. Now, the US Air Force has said that 2 Russian Su-27 aircraft conducted an unsafe and unprofessional intercept of the unmanned drone, which was operating within international airspace over the Black Sea on Tuesday. Those Russian jets, as I say, are accused of dumping fuel on the drone and striking its propeller, resulting in damage so severe that its remote pilot was forced to bring it down. We'll have a lot more on that story throughout the morning here on Sky News. Now, there was good news for the Chancellor as the Office for Budget Responsibility improved its forecasts. It expects the UK to avoid a technical recession this year, though it says the economy will still contract by 0.2% this year. It's also predicting a sharp fall in inflation, with the CPI measure of inflation expected to hit 2.9% by the end of the year, down from a peak of 11.1% in October. And public sector borrowing forecast to hit £152.4 billion this year. That's almost £25 billion less than expected. Well, joining me now is Sandra Horsfield. She's the senior economist at Investec. Sandra, welcome to you. The growth forecasts from the OBR are markedly more optimistic than those of the Bank of England. Where do you sit on all this?
Well, certainly, the situation has improved considerably. One of the benefits that we're experiencing as net energy importers is, of course, that wholesale energy prices have fallen since the OBR last put its forecast together, and that has had a material impact. We think that perhaps there is still difficult times ahead, and that's what we're seeing also in these forecasts. Household living standards are still likely to be declining this year, and hence not a strong performance, but not quite as bad as it looked beforehand.
In terms of the spending commitments, it looks as though Mr Hunt is going to be funding most of those from higher tax revenues via rather than more borrowing.
That's right. We have had clearly a better outturn for the public finances than had been hoped for last time. But there are still big spending commitments coming. We heard about the support that we're getting for investment, the support that we're getting for supply side measures on the labour side as well. And so all of these things have to be funded. Big tax cuts clearly aren't something that currently there's space for in the budget. The hope is that the economy improves further so that come sometime closer to the next general election, perhaps there's space for those as well, but that's not an option right now.
Looking at the big ticket spending items, obviously the biggest was the expansion of free childcare for parents with children under the age of 2. The OBR doesn't seem to think that's going to generate much of a gain for the economy in the short term. Why do you think that is?
It is, of course, a measure that's being phased in quite slowly over time. You can't suddenly decree that there are lots of childcare places when it takes time to set up nurseries, to provide the funding and so on. So this comes in gradually and over time only. There's a lot of uncertainty as to just how much of a response you get to this extra childcare provision. Childcare costs, of course, are very high, but at the same time, that's not the only factor that may be holding people back. Even with these provisions, it will not be necessarily easy to take on full-time work. So it's a discount. It doesn't completely take over childcare bills going forward. How big an effect this has? Well, I think there's a lot of uncertainty around that, and the OBR has recognized that as well. So perhaps there could be room for upside surprises in due course as these childcare places do come on board.
Now, Sandra, you mentioned a moment ago what we might see next year. Obviously, we're expecting a general election at some point next year. Has the Chancellor left himself enough room for potential tax giveaways before the election?
That will certainly have to be his hope that in time this could happen. Right now, the actual fiscal wiggle room, according to his own fiscal rules, would say that by the 5th year, the debt to GDP ratio must be falling, is being met, but it's being met with a very narrow margin. So things could easily come that throw things off course, and therefore, right now, it doesn't look like it. At the same time, there could be a more positive environment still. It could be that tax revenue does remain more buoyant still, that indeed this boost to investment is stronger, that this helps tax revenues, that the economy grows more strongly. So there is the hope that come the autumn, more can be done to help lower the tax burden as well.
All right, Sandra, we have to leave it there. Great to see you this morning. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bit of breaking news to bring you. Sky News understands that NHS unions have received a new pay offer and an announcement is expected this afternoon. Presumably that will be coming from the Health Secretary. Steve Barclay will, of course, bring you News on that when it happens. Still to come here on Ian King Live, we're going to have a look at how global markets are doing this Thursday morning. What a week it's been already. I'll give you all the latest after this short break. Stay tuned.
I'm Becky Johnson, a Sky News correspondent, part of the team based here in the Midlands. Allegations of exploitation in Leicester's clothing factories aren't new. In fact, it's been an open secret in this city for years. Made for people who want clarity in an uncertain world.
We're getting more and more stabbings, and essentially I think it's more and more younger children. As a team, we're not really surprised by anything these days. So there's reports of a male who's been stabbed repeatedly in the leg.
Here in the diverse industrial heart of England, we hear from people who have real stories to tell.
Parents are going to complain like this, and schools had better get ready for it.
These protests are being organised primarily by people who aren't parents at the school.
So some patients aren't going to survive this.
We have to be prepared that patients will die from this illness.
Staff here are currently identifying wards that could be turned into areas where patients with COVID-19 could be isolated. The River Severn is still rising, and people here in Ironbridge have been told it could go up by another metre before it starts to go back down.
It's going to be a long, slow process of putting it back together again.
We aim to be the best and most trusted place for news.
Now, equity markets in the Asia-Pacific region fell overnight following the squalls in Europe and the US yesterday. Mumbai finished highest, not on the screen, but elsewhere there were declines in Sydney, Tokyo, Hong Kong and Shanghai. But in Europe this morning, well, markets have had a firmer tone following news of the Swiss National Bank's support for Credit Suisse. As you can see, all of the main European indices are now in positive territory. Well, here in London, it's a similar story. The FTSE 100 up by more than 1% right now in a broad-based rally supported by the banks. HSBC has added nearly 9 points to the FTSE on its own there. The FTSE 86 points to the good there. In terms of percentage gainers, well, I mentioned them earlier in the programme, Rentokil Initial has grabbed the yellow leader jersey this morning on its results, while all of the banks have rallied after yesterday's falls. Barclays and Lloyds are also among the leading blue-chip gainers this morning. On the downside, well, there are a number of stocks that are automatically trading lower because they've gone ex-dividend today. In other words, they're trading for the first time without rights to the latest payout. They include M&G and Segro. That's just because those stocks have gone ex-div. Outside the FTSE, the telecoms mast operator Helios Towers is up 4% on its results, but Deliveroo is off 2% on a trading update. On the foreign exchange market, well, things are relatively quiet ahead of this lunchtime's interest rate decision from the European Central Bank. As you can see, sterling off 0.1% against the dollar. It's off by 0.4% against the euro. The single currency, meanwhile, up by 1/3% against the dollar. As for the oil price, well, that fell very sharply yesterday. In fact, it hit its lowest level at one point since December 2021. It's rallied very slightly this morning. I can't show you the price, but it's bobbing around at $72. Look at that, it's up it's $74.41 a barrel now. That's up 1% on the session so far. That is actually better than it was when I looked first thing this morning. Anyway, joining me now is Anna Stupnitska. She's the global macro economist at Fidelity International. Anna, welcome to you. Obviously, the talk of the market this week has all been about the spillover from Silicon Valley Bank to European banks. Do you feel that this intervention from the Swiss National Bank has got us off the hook?
Morning, and sure, a bit of a relief in markets this morning, as you said, but the situation remains very fast moving. I think it's too early to say that we are out of the woods. Vulnerabilities in the banking sector certainly remain. Credit Suisse is more systemically important than SVB. And it is a symptom of much tighter liquidity conditions. And I'm afraid we might see more market turmoil ahead.
And what a time for the European Central Bank to having to be making its latest policy announcement today. I mean, we heard from Farhad Kamal earlier in the programme. He thought that they'd go by 25 basis points now this lunchtime. What do you think?
Actually, the range of outcomes is quite wide. I think the markets are expecting about 40 basis points. So in between 50 basis points and 25 basis points hike, they have put themselves in the corners. You know, they have been unconditional about the 50 basis points hike. So if they do anything less than that, that can potentially send a signal to the market that they are not confident about financial stability. They're not confident in the banking system. And so we think that they will probably go ahead with this hike, but there is also a scenario in which they pause. They pause and take time to reassess what's happening. They might also provide some additional liquidity support to the banking system. So that remains to be seen what they're going to do. But certainly they are coming first. This is the first decision since the week of turmoil over the past week. And we will see what this means for central banks.
All right, Anna, I'm afraid we have to leave it there. It's good to catch up with you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to go over to the Institute for Fiscal Studies now, which is just launching its post-budget analysis. Here's Paul Johnson, the director.
Stability benefits in particular. And then Christine Farquharson will round up with an analysis of the biggest change, which was the introduction of a big childcare subsidy. You should have a link to Slido to ask questions, so please do that. We will leave plenty of time for questions at the end, and do vote up questions that you like. I will see those first. We are aiming to finish dead on 12 o'clock, so we shouldn't detain you for...
Empowerment is always key to development. Doing good outreach under the auspices of His Royal Highness Osi Ejatakbo VII presents Avatime Youth Empowerment Outreach 2023 with the theme Run to Jesus, Your Only Savior, Acts 10 verse 38. Date is Saturday the 26th of March to Saturday April 1st, 2023. Below are the dates and venues. 27th March, Avatime Vanle Community Center. 28th March, Avatime Amechokwe Market Square. 29th is Avatime Jokwepeme Primary School Compound. 30th March, Avatime Biakpa Community Center. 31st March, Avatime Bajame Community Center. Then April 1st is Avatime Fume and Jokwe Community Center. The time is 6:30 p.m. every day. Speakers: Reverend Michael K.M. Asiama.
We have redemption. We have been redeemed from the iniquities of the past. So you don't need to beg anymore. Oh, indeed, the Son of the living God.
Reverend Samuel Avagame and Reverend Prince Mauli Ejay kindly consider with a generous heart donating to this noble cause financially, materially, or with your time and presence. Note, there will be free health screening during the day for all. Contact us on WhatsApp 0044 7851 205 626 or on mobile 054 959 1452 054 959 1452 or email us at admin@powerwordint.co.uk.
SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Starr, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and intact? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination intact. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamp Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Pram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Pram Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
The best radio show. Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
All around the world.
In your car. At work.
At home.
On your smartphone.
This is Starr Radio UK. Are you ready to turn it up?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Your heart is aching.
Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Hey, this is Archie, and you are listening to Starr Radio UK and the Morning Show.
This is Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK.
Welcome.
They fade, Jesus, and that's what makes you great. You hold the world in your...
Okay, let me say massive good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you, wherever you might be on planet Earth, and those of you on other planets as well. We want to salute each and every one of you, and we want to say welcome to the Thursday edition of the Morning Show. Today is the 16th day of March, the year 2023, with the time now 10:42 from the hearts of London. From now until 12:30, I'm going to be your captain. I'm going to make sure I bring you everything from archaeology to zoology, from Accra to Zanzibar. I'll be joined by my colleague, Mr. Olayomi Koiki, this morning, and we will be bringing you all that. Yesterday was another smasher of another one of the Niger voices, and we'll be telling you more about that once we have Mr. Olayomi Koiki on. Let me say good morning to Mr. Francis Guy, Anthony Adedeji, massive good morning to you. HRH Linda Pali, all the way in Cyprus, I salute you, lady. I hope you are doing very well, very well. And Miss Palian and Ya Asantewa. Special greetings also goes to Bishop Adeshin, Pastor Chidi, Pastor Momo, and Apostle David Atika. And all you wonderful people who listen to us on Starr Radio UK, it is a privilege once again to come your way. And once again, I say welcome to the program. Share the broadcast with your friends and loved ones and invite them to like our pages as well. And let me say it this way, all protocol observed. Okay, so for those of you who have tuned in for the first time to listen to us, this is how the program goes on Thursdays. I'll bring you the quote for the day, exactly. Then after that, I'll bring you the weather forecast and the travel updates. We'll continue from there and look at some of the stories making the rounds across the globe, known as Global Trotting. The program continues from then until 11 o'clock when we have Mr. Olayomi Koiki on to bring you updates from Nigeria. We'll continue from dance, and then exactly at 12 o'clock, we open the lines for you to add your voice to the discussions. Then at 12:30, we'll bring the program to a close. So in Nigeria, that's what's going to be happening today, wherever you are. Once again, I say welcome to the program. Stay glued to your sets. Don't touch the dial. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, 10:44 the time. God Almighty. I hope that you enjoy the earlier broadcasts that were coming your way, news from other parts of the world on Sky. Okay. You make a doubt. Now just cracking on. The quote for the day says, if you are not desiring desperately to birth something to make an impact in your world, you cannot be truly successful. So what do you really want to birth? Make an impact in the world? Think outside the box, as some will say. But wherever you are, once again, welcome to the program. Let me say morning to Coach Jody, Felix all the way in Aberdeen. Mr. David Kluche, good morning to you. Dr. Martin, good morning as well. Starr Radio UK. Now, when it comes to where the forecasts are for you today, what is happening on the weather front when it comes to London and the southeast of England? London and the southeast of England. What is happening there? What is happening there? Just bear with me whilst I try to get that up. Okay, first one. So for London and the southeast of England, this is how the weather is going to be. This afternoon, there will be a mix of sunny spells and variable cloud towards the end of the day. Thicker cloud and spell of showery rain will push in from the west, breezy and mild. Now this evening will start cloudy and wet. Overnight rain will tend to ease, leaving dry conditions and variable cloud through the early hours. The rain may be reinvigorated towards dawn as well. A mild night expected. The top temperature is going to be 14 degrees. The lowest is going to be 10 degrees. UV level, low pollution load. Sunset 18:06 and sunrise for tomorrow morning 06:13 hours. It's Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. 10:46 the time. Let's take this quick commercial break and I bring you the travel update. Stay tuned and don't you go away.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour Show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour Show is your best source into the property industry.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Well, keep your eyes on the roads. Keep your eyes on the roads. I'm keeping navigated. I promise. I'm on the Starr Radio travel update that comes to where every weekday from 10:40. Now, I can tell you, those of you driving around Croydon, from the Fairfields, roundabout right down to the Home Office Front or the Wellesley Road, they're being cordoned off there, and not exactly what is happening there, but if you can avoid that bit, do your best to avoid that. But other side, for those of you traveling on the underground today, now Bakerloo line has got severe delays, Circle line minor delays, District line minor delays, Hammersmith and City minor delays, Jubilee line minor delays. Piccadilly line has got severe delays, and Metropolitan line has got severe and minor delays there. So check before you leave. If you can avoid it, do your best to avoid that. That aside, all the others, good service there. London Overground, good service. London Tramlink, good service there as well. BLR, good service. Now moving on straight to the major roads in London. A24, A4, Central London Red Routes has all got closures, and then A13 and A40 have got serious delays. So do your best to avoid that. On the river bars this morning, good service throughout the London cable car, good service throughout there as well. But when it comes to the National Rail, my goodness. Now, apart from this ones, all the others have got special service and minor delays. But, okay, so Transport for Wales, minor delays, Thames Link, special service, Southern special service, Southeastern special service, Southwestern Railway, special service, ScotRail, minor delays, Northern Rail, special service, Merseyrail, minor delays, London Northeastern Railway, special service, Greater Anglia, special service, Great Western Railway, special service, Great Northern special service, Gatwick Express, special service, First Transpennine Express, special service, East Midland Railways, special service, Cross Country, special service, Chiltern Railways, special service, and Avanti West Coast, special service there as well. But other side, all the others have got good service. So, if you are stuck in there, continue to keep your doors locked on Starr Radio UK. If not, if you can avoid it, do your best to do so. But we promise you that if there are any changes or when there are any changes, we'll bring it to the fore. So on that note, as I would say all the time, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth. Enjoy your commute for today. But you know what? Continue to keep those eyes on the roads.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour Show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour Show is your best source into the property industry.
Well, welcome back to the program Starr Radio UK. It's now 10 minutes to the top of the hour, and And that brings us to the Global Trotting session. So what's happening from across the globe? Whilst we were on air, some information has come through, and let me do my best to bring it your way. Russian casualties mount in Bakhmut, but tactics evolve. Information coming through to positions held by Ukrainians army brigades defending Bakhmut's southern flank. And security building on fire in Russia, Rostov region. A large blaze engulfs parts of a federal security service building in the southern Russian city. Okay, US has released footage of Russian jets crashing into the drone. The Russian jets were saying that they didn't crash into that, and that it was the drone that was malfunctioning, and that rather crashed into them. But what do you think? Now, farmers protest party wins shock Dutch vote victory. Now, the movement was only set up in 2019, and it's on course to become the biggest party in the Senate, and that is a different, another shocker there. Now, global cocaine production hits record levels after COVID lockdowns hit both demands and supply. Production is at record levels. That's what the UN is saying. My goodness. Okay, now tons of uranium gone missing in Libya. UN inspectors are trying to locate around 2.5 tons of uranium ore. And then a Russian spy group arrested in Poland. The group of foreign citizens were arrested in Poland accused of sabotage plot. Okay, so those are some stories making the rounds in other parts of the world. Now let's move on straight to Africa as well. Let's see what is happening there. Now, Nigeria delayed census is first in 17 years. What has happened to that? We'll be telling you more about that. Change of British High Commissioner to Nigeria, that's going to be taking place as well. UK appoints Richard Montgomery as a new High Commissioner to Nigeria. Who is Richard Montgomery? What role can he play to bring to broker some peace in Nigeria, so that we can have all the groups coming together there? Or the federal government seeing to it that things are ticking along nicely. But deadly floods and national tragedy. Malawi leader says a tropical storm Freddy kills more than 200 people as government promises to intensify rescue efforts. And rebuilding to start after Mozambique cyclone. Some of the stories making it around. A reporter freed over video of president appearing to wet himself. South Sudan leader Salva Kiir had been attending a public function last year. Well, maybe he's having a prostate issue and therefore couldn't hold himself. And then, I remember back in the day when a few network online, this was talking about the Tinubu, the president-elect, that he was also somehow with himself, or whether he had a problem there. We were not very sure about that, as whether it was all not true, but people were just trying to. Well, that is another story for another day, but it's all coming away from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, when it comes to Nigeria, some of the stories that we are talking about there as well. The president-elect results came as shock to many, Garba Shehu is saying. Well, we'll be telling you more about that. An election petition, why I withdrew my motion on material inspection, Atiku is saying. And INEC finally speaks on removal of Igbo South names from election duties. Why? We'll be telling you more about that. It's quite an interesting one. Why? What reasons is INEC given for that action that it has taken? The PDP knocks Anyim Pius for joining APC, says Ebonyi people will prevail on Saturday. Well, as you know, the gubernatorial election is going to be taking place this Saturday. But Lagos Guba, LP Labour Party's Rhodes Vivo clears air on being backed by Godfathers. And then, Sea River recomes to pressure. My apologies. Cross River Rec succumbs to pressure, agrees to sign results sheet for Guba poll. Well, we'll be telling you more about all those things that is happening as well. My apologies for that as well. And then in other stories, IPOP among 20 world deadliest terror groups. That is what the report is saying. Who is putting that report across? We'll be telling you more about that. We'll tell you more about that in a moment. But IPOP is among 20 world's deadliest group, and that's what the impact of terrorism has continued to decline in Nigeria, according to the report. But the outlawed indigenous people of Biafra is listed among the 20 deadliest terror groups in the world, even as the impact of terrorism has continued to decline. Well, that is the global 2023 Global Terrorism Index report. That's what it's saying. So they're classifying IPOP as a terror group. All right, then. Now moving on to some other stories. Malawi president attends funeral of the cyclone, and Blinken presses Ethiopia Reconciliation Office aid on post-war visit. Well, so there's a condition there. If they're able to fulfill that, then it's good. It's going to be good. Now Zimbabwe holds voter registration ahead of general elections there as well. Mnangagwa, is it going to be winning, or what's going to happen? Well, decision of the court. An unfortunate travesty of justice. Tiger IPI reacts to verdict on defamation suit. Well. He's been found what? 24 or 25 million. And I tell you that, oh my goodness, he's calling it a travesty of justice. Now, what do you think? Well, that is a case between Tiger IPI and the one and only Kennedy Japan. So this and a lot more going to be coming your way in the next few moments as we go to enjoy some music. But wherever you are, don't touch the dial. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Enjoy this tune. I'll be with you in a moment. This is from Pastor Chodora Boachansa, and he says everlasting to everlasting. Enjoy.
King of kings, Lord of lords.
you Emmanuel.
And let me say good morning to Omotosho Olayomi. He says, well done, bro. Well done to you, Omotosho. I hope you're doing very, very well as well. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, the kingdom of God reigns from everlasting to everlasting. Wherever you might be this morning, I want to welcome you once again to the program. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. But this evening, exactly at 6 o'clock, there'll be a repeat broadcast of BB Means Business program that came your way last Tuesday. And it's been followed by KB Botsman on the Property Hour. And this time round, it seems like he's looking at what? You'll be looking at women in the property industry, but I want you to keep your dials logged on Starr Radio UK, because I'll be bringing you more on that front during the course of the program. But now I can say emphatically that I've got the White Lion who has joined in whilst we're trying to get his image. Yes, now we've got his image on. Let me go to him in our North London studios and let me say massive good morning to you, Yomi.
Well, very good morning to you, Mr. Archie. Good morning to Frank. Good morning to all the other presenters, and good morning to the producer this morning. And good morning once again to all our listeners and viewers from around the world. And welcome to the Thursday edition of the morning show. And this is where we connect to the other part of the globe, which is Nigeria. A very, very important part in Africa, but with so many of its problems. And I say good morning once again, Mr. Archie.
How are you doing, sir?
A little bit tired. I think, with some of the late night sleeping is probably catching up, especially 2 days in a row with the children. They'll be returning back tomorrow after almost 48 hours away. There's a lot of pressure on the tube. I've been out there, but again, we're here doing what we love to do.
Well, listeners, that is for your information. We are here and we're doing what we want to do by bringing you everything that you need to know from what is happening from across the globe. So wherever you are, stay tuned, don't turn the dial. Mr. Olayomi Koiki in our North London studios. I'm Archie here and we're bringing you updates from Nigeria. Now let's go back to Yomi. Now, for the sake of those who missed out on the Niger Voices, as you know, we'll try to recap briefly before we come to the news, the latest updates from Nigeria. So, for their sake, what did we talk about yesterday on Niger Voice? Reaction and all that stuff.
Yesterday is just one of the so many in the last 6 years, that we've been doing the Niger Voices, and I believe every Wednesday we have different issues discussion since the last 6 years. So, but what has made it much different now is because we now have more of those that believe in the right to self-determination. I think that was not something that was quite used for those that probably have been listening to us. So people might start getting, these different views of, we are Nigerians, we are Igbos, we are Yorubas, we are Hausa, but again, it's just part of the education that Starr Radio UK tried to project, to our listeners out there. So yesterday we were looking at the wrap up about the Nnamdi Kanu case. What does it mean, to have one of the, the fifth best passport in the world, but yet, that could be another hindrance due to your utterances that in case maybe what I say might not be pleasing the Ghanaian, authority, the Kenya, the South Africa. And should I travel to a country that is so much of the lawless part of Africa, or maybe part of the Asia, but probably not in America, but that is if you are aware, because President Muhammadu Buhari, then the military dictator, tried to do what could have not been done before, maybe what have been done before by trying to make a kidnap of a Nigerian citizen here in the UK. He was able to achieve that, by kidnapping, rendition, Nnamdi Kanu back. So, and a lot of, question is, should we not say much on that now? In the near future, if one of our children, get picked up and, we got to know about it, what do? And somebody say, well, during Nnamdi Kanu case, a lot of you kept quiet, you never said much. So that was most of the conversation yesterday. And I'm sure, like you were saying before I was coming up, this will be the new British High Commissioner to Nigeria. This is the previous one. Maybe we should start with her. Katrina Lang, from what we are told by the Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer, according to the British consular in Nigeria, made about 5 visits in the last 2 years, going to 3 years that Nnamdi Kanu has been captured and kidnapped back to Nigeria. What can we remember of her? She was actually saying that as she's going to be leaving Nigeria, she came in 2019, just before the election of 2019. Remember that we traveled down to Nigeria as well, Starr Radio UK. She's going to be finishing with the last election before Dr. Richard Montgomery will be coming in. But how are we going to remember her? She said, well, we should remember her because she loved Nigeria culture, even though a lot of people have asked which of the culture, because there's no Nigerian culture, we have the Yoruba culture, the Hausa culture, the very rich Igbo culture, and the other 370 ethnic culture. But what we don't have is, there's nothing called Nigerian culture. But this is what is creating a lot of problem today. We also talked about, I heard you talking about the election, especially Lagos State. I have said it so many times, as much as we might want our own right to self-determination, we cannot enforce anyone that still believes in Nigeria. We can only convince them, to explain to them what really is the difference. So, Dr. Richard Montgomery will join the diplomat from, he has worked a lot. He's been to Nigeria before, but most of the time he has worked in the DFID, and I'm sure you know what DFID means, but for the benefit of our listeners, I'm going to explain what DFID means. DFID is the Department for International Development. So when we're going to be seeing this more of him from April, the first week, when he's going to be the new British High Commissioner. So there will be a lot of pressure on him, and I believe, UK and Nigeria has had a very long history as one of our colonial, relationship with the British government. So these were part of what we discussed yesterday. But in case you have missed these very fantastic, episode yesterday, it's still available on the Starr Radio UK, on our social media, under the YouTube, the Twitter, and likewise you can listen to it on the apps as well. So next week we will then be looking back into the outcome of whatever is going to happen in the next 48 hours, especially as Lagos State election seems to be the most stiff part of the governorship election. That is part of what we discussed on Niger Voices yesterday.
Okay, listeners, it is Starr Radio UK, Mr. Olayomi Koiki for you, telling you about the discussions that took place yesterday. But before we move on to some of the other stories, we'll talk about Montgomery, who is going to be taking over the helm as a British High Commissioner to Nigeria. Now, the lady, I've forgotten the name once again. Now, Katrina Lam. Now, how has her role in Nigeria, in protecting somebody like Nnamdi Kanu, and how does it change Nigerians' foreign policy? Because if Nigeria went, abducted Nnamdi Kanu, nothing has been done, blah, blah, blah. Now, they think that they can go around, do whatever they want to do, because as former colonial masters, when they speak, the Nigerian government do listen to them. Okay? But it looks like, I don't know, maybe they told the back off with this one. We think, because especially when this morning information has come through that the IPOP has been recognized as one of the deadliest, one of the 7 or the 8 deadliest terrorist group. So what her departure now? What has been her achievement, and now that she's going to be leaving, how do you think Montgomery's coming in will actually change anything in that front?
Well, Katrina Lang has been a diplomat in Nigeria that so many Nigerians believe that sometimes, from the perspective of some of us, that she is the one in charge of the system running in Nigeria, even though that is not true. She's just an high commissioner, but she's almost everywhere. And I remember some 2 years ago, when there was so much pressure, they were moving from one palace to the other. We're not too sure, especially when the issue surrounding the agitation was going on. There was a lot of movement and a lot of, skepticism that maybe they were just trying to tell some of our royal father from the southwest, the north, and the east, to probably, try and get things, especially for those agitating. But in terms of the relationship, especially the Nnamdi Kanu's issue, Nnamdi Kanu's case will be highlighted more on her as a diplomat that did not get a British citizen out of the custody, even though, Nnamdi Kanu, according to the Nigerian judiciary, has acquitted and discharged him of all the 15 counts. So what we would have expected Katrina Lang on her side is to push the side of the UK to the to the Nigerian government that as much as they might not be happy with the utterances and the views of Nnamdi Kanu, because I was going back to one of the broadcasts that led to a report came out around Nnamdi Kanu in March 2021, and 2 months after that, Nnamdi Kanu was eventually arrested. Well, not arrested. He was kidnapped and renditioned by the Nigerian government, and for 10 days nobody knew where he was until he was found. Nnamdi Kanu asked that if the British was allowed to vote against being part of the European Union, and they were exit out of the European Union, why then continue to support the Nigerian against the indigenous people that would have loved to also have a referendum to decide their fate if they still want to remain in what the British Empire created in 1914, known as the 1914 amalgamation that kept everyone together, and then named Nigeria by Lugard, and then the 1959 election and so many other things. But Katrina Lang must have probably say, well, she has done her best, from what I was reading yesterday, and she said, she has done, promoting the bilateral relationship between the UK and the British, but the newcomer would have probably now studied what she's leaving, and I'm going to be looking forward to what is going to be his first reaction when he joins. Like I said, he's also not new to Nigeria. I'm just going back to, this is Dr. Richard Montgomery, that is going to be the new British High Commissioner in Nigeria from first week April. So let me take you back to, he was in Nigeria from almost 3 years or 4, from 2009 to 2013. I'm talking about, this particular phase right now, as the Abuja Council Development and the head of the DFID that I just explained. DFID is just about Whitehall. We pass through there, especially when you're making your way close to Parliament or number 10 Downing Street. And its budget, I'm talking about DFID, is about almost 13.4 billion. And, they have a lot of road. The Department of International Development was a department of His Royal Majesty government responsible for administering foreign aid from 1997 to date. The goal of the department is to promote sustainable development and eliminate world poverty. So Dr. Richard is going to have, the case of Nnamdi Kanu as a priority, and likewise so many injustice. Remember that even the NSAS is still hanging, even though 100,000 petition was signed. We saw a lot of discussion at the Parliament. The outcome hasn't changed. And the outcome that a lot of the youth are not getting from the British government in terms of, telling Nigerian government the rule of law must be respected, and the handling of the, the security issue. An Uber driver that was molested and almost killed during the NSAS, the court has now asked for 5 million to be paid. I'm not sure that is going to happen because, when courts say pay money, Nigerian government do not pay this money. They probably just even abandon the case anyway. And this is the reaction that is now coming back. And in Lagos State this weekend, I might not predict what is going to happen, but I can see a tsunami that is going to happen in Lagos State, especially the bitterness of the NSAS and the other issues that has been pending, and the governor is just running everywhere to try and convince people to vote for him again.
Well, listeners, it is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. I bring you the time now to 19 minutes past the top of the hour. With me in the North London studio is Mr. Olayomi Koiki, and I'm Archie here in the South studio. Now, let's come back to the elections that are going to be taking place over the weekend. Now, you talked about what is going to happen in Lagos and the fact that the uncertainties are ruffling lots of feathers there. Now, do you think that Labour, in one way or the other, because talking about the NSAS and this lady who was killed in the public transport, the Lagos transport, Bamishe, and then a few incidents of things that have happened, the Okada drivers, the riders, the way they treated them, and a few things that have happened there. Do you think that is set Lagosians, let me put it that way, against their governor?
Well, these motion that the Igbo or the Labour parties and Igbo party, and they are planning to hijack Lagos, and Lagos is no man's land. That is what they've been saying. Lagos belongs to the Yorubas, and nobody can take a Yoruba territory. Even if you fly from the heaven, it has always been what belongs to the Yoruba people. but the politicians are good, to create these disunity, and when it doesn't favor them, they play out the ethnic card, and that ethnic card has been now shoot out. Those that are even shouting, that is Fulani that is killing us, have left the issue of Fulani alone now. Say, look, let's first deal with the nationality first, the ethnicity. We must not allow Lagos to be taken away from us. But what they forgot to understand is there are more Yorubas that are voting under the Labour Party, and like I always say, this is the difference between those of us that say, the longer you remain in Nigeria, every Nigerians have the right to live wherever they want to live, and they also have the right even though we disagree with the 1999 Constitution, that has been one of the backbone of this present democracy that we are even saying we are enjoying, that is even this enjoyment of this democracy is not felt by an average Nigerian, even in the northern part of Nigeria today. I mean, as I speak to you today, there's still more kidnapping going on. The poverty level is high. And yesterday, the government of Nigeria is talking about 2050. I mean, we've not dealt with 2023 and the 2022. The government is already planning for 2050 projection. And again, the reaction, like I said, on Saturday is going to be what the government has done, whether on the state level, the local government level. I listened to a young man that said, look, the governor authorized the destructions of their homes during the COVID period. And this is something that people have kept inside. And the only way they can respond now is to use their PVC according to the law to decide who they would like to vote for.
Wow, interesting. But Yomi, let me ask you a quick one. Now, what has been the position of the Yoruba nation virtually before the election took place, the presidential and the House of Reps one? Now, they were saying that we don't want to be part of it because this is our cause for one out. The best thing that we could get is being given the chance to have a referendum. Now, with that division that seemed to be raising its ugly head, and having the governor of Lagos State, Sanwo-Olu, playing ball with the Yoruba group, because you remember that when there was supposed to be some rallies, even the Lagos rally, that was the night before the Lagos rally, that was the eve of the Lagos rally. That's when Sunday Igboho's house was attacked. Am I right? Was it the eve?
Well, yeah, just about almost 48
hours
before the rally. July 1st, his house was attacked. The rally was July 3rd.
So a couple of days before then. So with all that, what has been the position of the Yoruba nation? Because especially now that we can see that they just throwing in the ethnic card just to make sure that people will now sympathize with them. What do you think the Yoruba nation is going to say about this pertaining to the Lagosians?
In terms of the election per se, from day one, Professor Akintoye have said it clearly that the Yoruba people have nothing to do with the election. Our mandate is we want to have a self-determination. Even as Yoruba man Bola Tinubu is not representing the Yoruba, is actually representing in Nigeria. But the question then is, those that have been campaigning for the right to self-determination, we've seen some of them have come out to now defend Lagos State based on these ethnic card that is being played out. I mean, yes, even these are the three faces that is contesting in Lagos State. To your left-hand side is the incumbent governor that is trying to get a new one back. I mean, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. To the middle is this particular issue that his father is a Yoruba man, but the mother is an Igbo woman, and that literally means that he must not be given the right to control Lagos State. Even some say he doesn't speak Yoruba. And then to your left, to the far right, is Jandor, a Yoruba man as well. So the question to those surrounding the right to self-determination have not just even left the right one, which is the far right, Jandor. They've now said we should continue to allow Sanwo-Olu to continue. And some are saying that what is inside that the APC that have controlled, they were not APC to start with. Remember that Tinubu started as an AD. And I've listened to the video of an ADECO organization that Tinubu was part of those that formed an ADECO during the atrocity of the late Sani Abacha, that have now also said that, they have literally disqualified this election. That's a different story entirely that we might touch, some other time. But the question then is, if we have 3 candidates, why then are they pushing the narrative that it has to be Sanwo-Olu? They are saying, Jandor is a Yoruba man as well. The other one in the middle is half Yoruba, but going back to history, from the record, is a Yoruba man, but because the mother is an Igbo woman, and this is the ethnic card that is being played out right now. And personally, myself, I have said it clearly. I do not buy that, nonsense that is being played out right now. Yoruba land cannot be taken from us, but let the will of Lord or the will of Eledumare happen on Saturday. Whatever is going to happen, that is not going to mean that the Yoruba people will lose the territory to that Lagos state that we are talking about. Chinese were taking our mining by a Yoruba governor, Oyetola, in Osun State for 8 months. We have a king, we have a first-class royal king, Ooni of Ife, that is there. We have Bales, we have the Yoruba governor, and for 8 months, mining were taking place, illegal mining in Osun State. Nobody rise up to say, let's defend Osun State so that it doesn't being taken away by the Chinese. But today, we are more concerned about Lagos State being taken away by the Igbo people.
Meanwhile, the person is not here. It's a mixed race. Well, what better person would you have loved to have? Somebody who is mixed, Igbo and Yoruba, and it's the interest of the people that has to be made paramount, as I say all the time. But well, listeners, it's Starr Radio UK, 11:26 the time. Let's move on to some of the other stories making the round. Now, Garba Shehu is saying that, the president-elect was shocked. So, did he not actually think that he was going to win? And therefore, with that statement, does it mean that there were some underground dealings that had gone on? Because maybe with that statement, it could mean that they knew for sure that they weren't going to win at all. But some way, somehow, the deals that they were trying, or the strings that they were trying to pull, managed to work very well. Anthony Ndeji, good morning to you. Yomi.
Well, good morning to you. Ijaya also says enjoyment of this democracy in Nigeria are sufferness, marginalized, impunity, corruption, kidnapping, random payment, lawless nation, and the loose security. And the rest of those that have joined us, we say very good morning. And likewise, shout out to those that have joined us on the sister broadcast. Garba Shehu, will be missed after Buhari goes, because, he's the head of the special media advisor to, President Muhammadu Buhari. Garba Shehu says next presidential election result shocked many. He's not actually saying, it shocked Buhari. I think, that's exactly what it means. Result of the February 25th presidential election has shocked to many who had declared a winner before the INEC did. The presidential spokesman, Garba Shehu, said this morning. He was actually speaking this morning. The senior special assistant, like I said, to the president on media and publicity, made the observation in one of the mainstream media during an interview this morning. He said, despite the irregularities observed in the conduct of the February election, it remained the most improved in Nigeria history. Again, trying to defend, his boss, which is what I think. In the statement he signed on Monday, Shehu had argued that Buhari regime had laid the ground for credible election in a country. However, he said it is left for INEC to manage the collation of the results. So again, we do know that the collation of the result is what is giving a lot of concern right now. Even though Peter Obi is pushing to have the materials for those elections to be inspected, Atiku has withdrew suit to inspect election materials used in the presidential election, according to his legal team. I'm not sure why, but again, Garba Shehu believes President Muhammadu Buhari has laid the foundation, and we should now work with that foundation when Tinubu comes in. But we will wait and see how all this is going to play out.
Well, it's just a matter of time. By May 29, thereabout, we should have a new president, whatever it is, because we know that Buhari is not. He's finished his tenure. He's just going to be living. But is it going to be Tinubu who has won, who has been declared winner, or would there be will the courts overturn the results and they may call for another election? We're not very sure of it. But when it comes to the statement that we have Garba Shehu making, and then the fact that Atiku has decided not to go and inspect the materials that was used. Doesn't it actually take the wind out of Peter Obi's sail? Because naturally, the one that who was also calling for that is now backing out. Is it because they think that, well, the INEC will never be able to provide those materials or let them inspect the material? Is that what is happening?
Well, in a statement, Atiku Abubakar legal team said INEC had already granted him access to inspect, these material, ends his withdrawal of the motion. He said the clarification was important following insulation and mischievous reporting of the withdrawal of the application for INEC to grant access to his legal team and the PDP on inspection of the document related to the presidential poll. The appellate court had granted the request of the PDP and Abubakar to be granted unfettered access to the INEC document used for the presidential election. But on March 10, we filed a motion, an ex parte, an affidavit of urgency to ensure the implementation of the court order. The court, however, asked that we put the president-elect Senator Bola Tinubu and the APC and the INEC on notice, stated Mr. Abubakar. He added, consequently, we filed the motion on the notice and the motion exported for substitute to serve Tinubu as well. But on Tuesday, at a conference meeting between his lawyers, the Labour Party, the APC and INEC, access was eventually granted to the legal team, and I think that's probably why, since access has been granted, probably maybe the court issue might not be needed anymore. What does that mean? When INEC grants you access to these, we would have to wait a couple of more days to see what's going to be the issue. But Abubakar said the legal team now withdraw the two motions when the matter came up for hearing. So what is actually done is, the hearing is what they've withdrew since INEC has granted. I remember the legal team of Peter Obi over the week as well visited the INEC office. They were not granted. I believe maybe they've been granted right now. But again, looking into these materials is key to start the process of a court. That Bola Tinubu probably might be overturned the result. We don't know, but that will be subject to whatever is gathered from all the investigation and the materials from all the three political parties, because Bola Tinubu has also put up to strong legal team to guide him and help him to make sure that his result from INEC is not upturned. And if you listen to what Gabashe was saying, that Buhari has done his part, it is up to INEC chairman to have also played their part. And INEC can say, well, it is up to those that gave him the result. He has played his part, but then it is now up to the court to make the final decision. We played the Shehu Shagari issued yesterday, and I can confirm that even after the court case, Shehu Shagari was still declared the winner in 1979.
Rarely will you hear a case in African country where after elections the court will overturn. It was only Kenya. Oh, okay, Kenya and I think Malawi, one of those countries, they had the court overturning or an appeals court, hearing the whole thing and maybe overturning the results, and there was a rerun and stuff like that. But what do you think about all that? We want to know what you are saying. But Yomi, let's come to the IPOP that has been classified as among the 20 world deadliest terror group. The outlawed indigenous people of Biafra is listed among the 20 deadliest terror groups in the world, even as the impact of terrorism has continued to decline in Nigeria, according to the 2023 Global Terrorism Index report. Now, Nigeria is now in the 8th position globally among the countries that have been hard hit by terrorism in the 2022, according to the report. Nigeria had occupied the 6th position in last year. Report was in the 3rd position for more than 3 years before last year. Now, Afghanistan, for the 4th consecutive year, is the country most impacted by terrorism, followed by 3 African countries: Burkina Faso at the 2nd position, and Somalia 3rd, and Mali 4th. Okay, now, Yomi, let me come to you. Now, we have people who are being abducted daily. We have people whose farms are being raided and people are being killed in the north. Now, if you compare that action that they are taking, and I remember back in the day, some of us calling that those terrorists, those who are kidnapping, those who are doing all those things, should be placed on that pedestal as terrorists as well, so that the full rigors of the law can be applied to them. But we've not seen anything of the sort here. I don't know whether government has done that. But if you look at what is happening from across, and just looking at only the southeast. Do you think comparing, you think that the IPOB, if they are the ones perpetrating that act, because they will tell you that they've also not done anything of the sort, do you think they are the worst of in Nigeria?
Well, first and foremost, who is giving these, report is the Global Terrorism Index. And you're quite right, we've been talking about them. But let's remind ourselves that the federal government has been doing whatever it can do, to push out the narrative out there, especially to the international community, that they have already labeled the IPOB as a terrorist organization in Nigeria. And that means that should be the same situation across the globe. But till date, the UK has not done that. The American has not done that. But yes, the Global Terrorism Index have now come out with these new report that IPOB as well is one out of the first 10 most dangerous organization in the world. But like I said, the Nigerian government is very, very powerful to push a very negative narratives, against, the indigenous people. As much as the atrocity that is happening in the southeast has been far back to the same political parties. And let me just give you, what is happening just today in the same southeast, from the report that is just, arriving into the desk right now. Barely 48 hours to the House of Assembly election in Edo State, as an example, the state deputy chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Jared Tenabi, has been arrested allegedly on the orders of the deputy governor of the state, Honorable Philip Shuaibu. He was said to have been arrested in Ikagidigbo, his hometown, in Etasako West local government area of the state for undisclosed reason. Yesterday, gunmen adopted a steward of the All Progressive Congress and the party secretary in Ikwara local government area in Rivers State. The question is that IPOB? So you can see that there is a lot of misinformation. But again, Lai Mohammed, the information minister, at some point, called the Google and say, look, you must take down most of the utterances of the, the IPOB on the YouTube because it's having negative impact. We've seen, forged letter by the Nigerian, system that they're used to, to try to label the Finland government to say that they have already had interest in the Simon Ekpa in Finland. So the question then is, how do we balance, this kind of, negativity on the indigenous people? Is because Nigerian government is playing the same thing. Let me remind you back when Chief Sunday Igboho, Dr. Sunday Igboho's house was attacked on an assassination attempt, at his private residence. What we saw was the government didn't come out till almost late in the night. They're used to that. And by the time they came out, even Professor Wole Soyinka, the Nobel laureate, says it's cock and bull story to say you find weapon in a house that you visited in the early hours of the morning with about almost 500 security personnel. Even with the traditionalists, about 3 of them came. We're not too sure for what reason. But yet, the reason why the government did not come out in time, because they thought that Igboho died in the process, and probably maybe Igboho was going to fight the government, and then they could have labeled the Yoruba Nation as a terrorist organization. But Igboho escaped that, in assassination attempt. 2 lives were lost. Till date, the federal government has not tell us where the 2 bodies are, even though they should have been buried according to Islamic rite, where that is their religion. So we've seen this. It's not today that the government has, and it has always been like that. Even as we speak right now, Oxford University, that gives an honorable award, has now been pinned with the Kaduna State governor, where Daddy Yati was missing in 2019. Till date, whether he's alive or dead, but we know that the governor of Kaduna State has got a bit of hand in why honorary award is given out. And when David Odonye says he was given an award, he has now been, that award has been removed, and we now realize that that is something being pushed from Kaduna State. So I'm not buying into this, but again, like I said, Nigerian government has hand in this kind of information that is not trying to be projected outside.
Well, listeners, interesting. But, whilst we're enjoying the program, the time is running like no man's business. 11:40 the time. Let's go back to Yomi for the rest of the stories and what is happening on the social media platform. Over to you, sir.
And you're quite right. The time goes very fast. Like I said, these three, is like I don't know whether you watch wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
When you watch wrestling, and sometimes you think somebody's winning, and towards the end, somebody's going to win. 48 hours. These are the three faces that is going to be giving pressure in Lagos State, and by next week we'll be able to do a little bit more judgment on that. But for now, because of our time has been quite fast spent, but we're just going to touch quickly on one or two other headlines and then come back again. The election fever is still in Nigeria, and I've been following, back to back, on the social media, which we're going to just go straight to right now, and you can tell that IREV is trending this morning. Ekeremadu is trending. We know that he's still here for organ allegation, even though he might never have known that he will be right in front of Lut Emergency Center. My kid's sister died this morning after waiting for 2 hours because there were not enough bed. I don't blame anyone but the greedy politician. Nigeria happened to you, Debbie. Rest in peace. Wow. What a very sad one. Lut is meant to be like taking your own children to the general hospital, but these individuals on the social media have just lost a kid sister because of the negligence of the healthcare. He's not blaming anyone in the facility, but he's blaming the greedy politician. And it has been retweeted, almost 4,000 times, and the reaction on that is about almost 604,000. And again, this is why we say, may Nigeria never happen to you, each time we are on this platform. So we're just going to go straight, like I said, into the social media and see what is trending, because of the time is quite spent already this morning. Once again, this is the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. The election fever is still trending. Akwa Ibom is trending as well. As we know, Akwa Ibom is trending. There's a mainstream media that is trending, not too sure why. But we know that a lot of people disagree with some of them as well. So let's take a look at it. Just touching on some of what is trending. Again, just everything is about the election fever on the social media. But there's another one that I just want to talk about quickly. High cost of food caused by insecurity, climate change, federal government. According to the federal government has identified the food insecurity, malnutrition, as well as climate change as factors responsible for low income and higher prices of foods in the country. We know that a lot of people could not make their way to the farm. Farms have been destroyed, by the Fulani terrorists that are moving around across the country. According to the statement by the Ministry of Finance spokesperson Olude Omolade, the permanent secretary and the budget and the planning, and NACO disclosed these at the ongoing workshop on development of implementation strategy for Nigerian food system transformation and pathway. And NACO, who was represented by the Director of National Monitoring and Evaluation, Zakari Lawani, described the ongoing program as a call to action to achieve progress in dealing with the issues of poverty, hunger, malnutrition, disease, unemployment, conflict, and changing weather pattern. But what is the main problem is Nigerians cannot get to the farm because of the insecurity that is making a lot of rampage across the state as well. Starr Radio UK, the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. I'll return back to you now in the studio.
Yes, listeners, Mr. Olayomi Koiki bringing you updates from Nigeria. I hope that you've enjoyed that update. There are lots more that we're going to be discussing, but you know what? Because time is not on our side, we'll be bringing you the rest tomorrow, God willing. But wherever you are, once again, we say thank you, and thank you very much for joining us. Yomi, before you go.
Well, we'll be back again for the final part of the morning show tomorrow, Friday edition. For now, I say have a very good morning. Good afternoon to those watching all the way from Nigeria, and those watching in Australia, Japan. I say good evening to you from here.
Okay, have a lovely day. We'll catch up later then.
Bye for now.
Bye. Well, listener, that has been Mr. Olayomi Koiki, also bringing you updates from Nigeria. We're going to take a musical break. Once we come back, we'll look at some of the other stories making the rounds across the globe. And as I did say earlier on, we will be global trotting there, looking into all the details of some of the stories. And we'll be opening the lines exactly at 12 o'clock for you to add your voice to the discussions. At 12:30, we'll bring the program to a close there. So now let's move on. Let me bring you this song. Due to the election that's going to be taking place, the gubernatorial election taking place this weekend in Nigeria, let's enjoy this song from the Zongo Man. It says, use the ballot box to give them a bloody nose. Show them. So maybe people go to the polls, see what the governor has done so far. Has he served your interest? Or has he wantonly actually caused lots of pain to you and your economy? What about that? Enjoy it, and I'll be with you. Stay tuned.
Smartphone. This is Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK.
Are you ready to turn it up?
Go to the police station.
This is Starr Radio UK.
One man, one vote. It is your right. If you have a vote, you've got power. So every man have a vote. Every woman have a vote. Use the ballot box. Use the ballot box. Use your vote. Go to the polling station and give them a bloody nose. Go to the polling station and give them a bloody nose. Take no lies, take no bribe, take no promises, take no sting, take no sound bites, no slogan shouting. Use the ballot box. Use the ballot box. Use your vote. Go to the polling station and give them a bloody nose. Go to the polling station and give them a bloody nose.
This is Starr Radio. This is Starr Radio UK.
Don't rig votes. No gerrymandering. Don't use violence.
guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamp Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy. Welcome back to the program. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. And let me say good morning to all presenters on Starr Radio UK, especially HRH Linda Palian and Empress Regina Anima. Yeah, on point. Yes. She's always on point. Now she'll be joining us pretty soon. She told me just to send her regards across. So I'm doing so, Reggie. All right, and hope to see you pretty soon. But it's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. 6 minutes to the top of the hour. That means 11:54 from here. Now let's look at some of the other stories making the rounds in other parts of the world. Okay, my producer say I might as well just open the lines, giving some extra time for those who want to call in before we bring the curtains down exactly at 12:30. Now, so if you want to call in, 0208-133-2257 or 580208-133-2257 or 58 8. Now, those of you who are in the US, Canada, or the Caribbean area, you want to call us on 001-718-303-2737, 001-718-303-2737. You can also text or WhatsApp us. It is 0753-966-1744, 0753-966-1744. Our Twitter handle is at Starr Radio UK. And our email address is info@starradiouk.com. info@starradiouk.com. All right then. So now let's move on. Let's look at some of the stories making the rounds. Let's start from somebody said Ghana, my happy home, my happy home. Really? Okay. Rise above partisan politics. Individual bundles are saying to SEC, SEC, and the GSE. That's what they say, GSC. When I saw that, I said GCSC. Now, the Coalition of Individual Bondholders Groups has urged the Security and Exchange Commission, that's SEC, and the Ghana Stock Exchange GSE to rise above partisan politics and exercise their roles responsibly as independent regulators and managers of our securities market. Now, according to the coalition, building credible institutions remains critical for the development of the country. The coalition, in a statement in response to the government's commencement on outstanding bonds, said, in this regard, we expect professional leadership from these two institutions in protecting investors and ensuring responsible and compliant conduct of issuers, including the government of Ghana and the Ministry of Finance. It goes on further to say, we humbly urge the Ministry of Finance to review its communications management and reposition it for proactive engagement with creditors as is professionally expected. It is all coming away from Starr Radio UK. So have they seen any flaws in the SEC and DSE, or they are just making their remarks? Let me say good morning to Pastor Ugbami, Reverend Ugbami Tete, who is the boss of SEC. He's been on Starr Radio UK a couple of times that he's been in the country. Okay, now let's move on straight to some other stories as well. Now, Ghanaians flooded social media platforms to react to the High Court ruling on the defamation suit involving investigative journalist Anas Arameyao Anas and Asin Central Member of Parliament Kennedy Ohene Ejapon on Accra High Court on Wednesday, March 15, 2023, struck out a defamation suit brought by the journalist against the lawmaker. The plaintiff filed the case in 2018, seeking, among other reliefs, monetary damages to the tune of 25 million Ghana cedis. However, the court, presided by Justice Eric Barr, despite finding various claims made by the defendant against the plaintiff as potentially defamatory, ruled that the comments were factual and fair. The court subsequently dismissed the suit and awarded the defendant a sum of 50,000 Ghana cedis to cover his legal costs. So, what things has what do you call him, Kennedy Japan, not said against or about Anas Arameyao Anas, but the judge seemed to be saying that some of them were fair, others are not. But what do you think about all that? Well, let's move on to some of the other stories making the rounds as well. Now, the decision of the court is an unfortunate travesty of justice. That's what the Tiger IPI is reaction to the verdict on the defamation suit seem to be saying. Now, the story says investigative organization Tiger IPI has described as travesty of justice the judgment of by a high court judge in the defamation suit against Kennedy Ejapon. This comes after the court dismissed the defamation suit filed in 2018 for lacking merit. Now, explaining their position, the company, in a statement released on Wednesday, March 15, indicated that the court established that Mr. Japan defamed investigative journalist Anas Arameyao who filed the suit. However, the court, presided over by Justice Eric Barr, despite the admission, absolved the Asin Central MP of any liability in a bizarre twist. They added, Now we find the decision of the court an unfortunate travesty of justice and very inimical to the administration of justice and fairness. If nothing at all, Mr. Japan made an allegation of murder against Mr. Anas. Part of the statement read, "There is absolutely nothing contained in the said documentary which alludes to the commission of murder or an allegation of the commission of murder by Mr. Anas. Thus, that documentary cannot provide any justification for an allegation of murder in the wildest imagination." Now, Tiger IPI noted that the judge conveniently ignored the fact that Mr. Anas is not a suspect in the murder and is not under investigation for murder. Now, they added that even throughout the trial, Mr. Japan showed disdain and disrespect for not only the court but also the lawyers of Anas. However, all attempts to cite him for contempt hit a dead end. Is it money speaking? As we say, money speaks and BS walks. Now, this case traveled through the hands of 3 judges, with Justice Barr being the latest assigned to the case at the express instance of Kennedy Ejapon, they stated. Now, despite losing the case, Tiger I said they are dedicated to fighting corruption and will continuously do so for the country. So, now you, the judge who has made this pronouncement, okay, the background to that information, for just for the sake of those who don't know, in 2018, Anas Anas filed a defamation suit against Kennedy Japan after he called the journalist a blackmailer, corrupt, and extortionist, and evil on live television, among others. In the suit, Mr. Anas had indicated that as a Central MP during the time his work number 12 investigative piece detailing corruption in Ghana football also published materials to discredit him and his work. Following the documentary, former president of the Ghana Football Association, Mr. Kwesi Nyantechi, who was one of the main subjects, was banned for 15 years from all football-related activities. Mr. Anas had noted that not only did this affect his reputation as an acclaimed investigative journalist, but as a Central MP also incited the public against him. And I could remember that statement. Among other things, the journalist was seeking damages to the tune of 25 million. But well, the court has ruled otherwise. Now, so it's what Anas said when it came to his documentary, when he was talking about the judicial system in Ghana, where he was talking about the fact that some judges get goat and some chicken legs and stuff like that and rule in favor of those who have bribed them or who sent those gifts to them. What do you think about all that? Well, it's all coming away from Starr Radio, okay? It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. All right then, now let's leave Ghana and let's go to Malawi. Now, Malawi's president attends funeral of cyclone victims, according to local authorities. Malawi is in a state of disaster, while Cyclone Freddy has done it to pull us back even when we were trying to rebuild because of past tragedies. And I appeal to the international community to please look at us with such favor because we need help. Lazarus Chakwera said in an appeal to the international community. The cyclone has killed at least 225 people in Malawi's southern region, including Blantyre, the country's financial hub, according to local authorities. Another 88,000 people are displaced. In neighboring Mozambique, officials say at least 20 people have died since the storm made landfall in the port town of Quelimane on Saturday night. Over 45,000 people are still holed up in shelters, and with about 1,300 square kilometers, that's 800 square miles, still underwater, according to the EU's Copernicus satellite system. The Clemens Jubani Dambe, a member of one of the bereaved families, said his family lost 14 relatives to the storm. We have been deeply touched by the death of our brother and his wife. He has died along with his 5 male children. Another male member of our family, together with his wife and 2 children, have also passed, bringing the number of lost relatives to 14 in our family, said Dambe. A very sad one. And we say our condolences to them and to the dead. May their souls rest in perfect peace. Well, million tons of partially radioactive waste stir up fear in Niger. Now, the story says that towering mounds dot the desert landscape in northern Niger's Alit region, but there's little natural about them. They are heaps of partially radioactive waste left from 4 decades of operation as one of the world's biggest uranium mines. An ambitious 10-year scheme costing $160 million is underway to secure the waste and avoid risk to health and environment. But many local people are worried or skeptical. From 1978, France's nuclear giant Areva, now called Orano, worked the area under subsidiary, the Aquata Mining Company, that's in Cominac. Now, it closed the site in 2021 after extracting 75,000 tons of uranium, much of which went to fueling the scores of nuclear reactors that provide the backbone of France's electricity supply. So while they were taking all this out from this part of the world, what did Niger actually enjoy? Now the question once again is, those who negotiated for the French to come in to do this, how did they negotiate it? Or again, is it because they were colonial masters, or they are colonial masters and therefore have their hands in all their pies? Is that what was happening, or what is happening there? Now, Cominac's Director General Maman Sani Abdullahi showcased the rehabilitation project to the first French journalist to visit the site since 2010, when 7 Areva employees were kidnapped by jihadists. The company intends to hand back a site that is safe, healthy, and non-polluting in line with national standards and international recommendation, Abdullahi said at his office in Niamey. The toughest task is to deal with estimated 20 million tons of tailings that have been in contact with uranium. Maybe today you find out that you're okay, but living in that part of the world, tomorrow you will not find that you will not be okay. Got exposed to uranium, and what have they done about it? Well. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, Burkina Faso has repatriated 64 citizens from Tunisia. Why? 64 Burkinabe nationals repatriated from Tunisia, where they were fleeing violence targeting sub-Saharan Africans since a speech by President Kai Said arrived on Wednesday in Ouagadougou aboard a plane chartered by the government of Burkina Faso. AFP reporter said the nationals were welcomed on arrival by members of government and relatives who were moved and visibly relieved. We were able to bring a first contingent of 64 compatriots who were in Tunisia, said the minister delegate for regional designate for regional cooperation, Kiramako Jean-Marie Traoré, ensuring that it was the responsibility of our government to ensure the safety and well-being of its citizens. Has Nigeria repatriated theirs? Has Ghana, if there is, and other countries, have they repatriated theirs? Well. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, bringing the time now to 9 minutes to the top of the past the top of the hour, and that means 21 minutes for us to bring these updates or this program to a close. Now, in a final story, Morocco, suspected jihadists arrested after police officer murder is one of the stories making the rounds there as well. 3 Moroccans affiliated with the Islamic State jihadist group and suspected of murdering a policeman whose charred body was found in early March near Casablanca were arrested on Wednesday, police have said. According to a statement from the Directorate General of National Security, DGSN, the 2 main suspects were arrested following a security operation in Casablanca and in the region of Sidi Razem near Fez in the north. A third man who was arrested in a subsequent operation in Casablanca, the same source said. According to the first elements of the investigation, they had recently pledged allegiance to the EL and were determined to engage in a terrorism project by killing a policeman, the statement added. Now, local media had initially suggested a common crime involving drug traffickers. The charred and mutilated body of a policeman, a traffic officer killed with a knife, was discovered on March 2 in rural area of the Casablanca region. According to the DGSN, the 3 suspects intended to steal his service weapon to rob a bank branch. They were taken into custody and the investigation was handed over to the Central Bureau of Judicial Investigation, the BCI, responsible for the fight against terrorism. It is all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. And now let's take a quick break. Let me have a sip of water and I'll bring you to some of the stories making the rounds here in the UK and other parts of the world.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit.
Welcome back to the program, to the final segment of the program for today. And now let's go to other parts of the world. Let's look at the stories. But the lines are still open, though. If we want to call in to make any take, feel free to do so. I promise you one thing for sure. I'm gonna pick that. Okay. Now moving on straight to some other stories making the rounds in other parts of the world. Okay. Let's move on. Okay, let me touch on this one. But my producer says that it's an important one because the way journalists are treated. Now, journalists freed over a video of president appearing to wet himself. It's one of the stories. Now, 2 of 4 journalists who were detained in January after a video appearing to show South Sudan's president wetting his trouser at a public function have been released. The Union of Journalists of South Sudan said in a statement that it welcomed the release of Victor Ladu and Mustafa Osman. And in December last year, a video shared on social media appeared to show Mr. K urinating on himself as the national anthem played at a function. Now, 6 staff from the state broadcaster were later arrested, but 2 remain in detention. We urge the government to release Garang John Jacob Benjamin, or if they have a case to answer, they should be produced in a court of law, the UJOSS statement has read. But the thing is, this is the president standing there, and there is a national anthem, so they zoom on the president wholly standing there. Then the camera captures that scene. I don't know how swift they managed to move it from there, or because others were looking and therefore their attention had gone there. Maybe they were not seeing, they didn't see anything of the sort. But well, some journalists were in prison because of that. But they be 4 of them have been released so far, but 2 are still in there, and they're saying that, well, if you have a charge, bring it against them. If not, release them. Well, they have been kept there since January. But what do you think? Starr Radio UK. Now, Russia denied the fact that they were the ones who crashed into the U.S. drone. However, some footage that have been shown this morning proves that actually the Russian jet crashed into the drone. The U.S. military has released footage of a Russian jet crashing into one of its drones over the Black Sea. The U.S. said the damage to the large drone meant it had to be brought down into the water near Ukraine on Tuesday. Now, Russia denied its Su-27 fighter jet clipped the propeller of the drone, but the video appears to back up the Americans' version of events. It was in the Pentagon's interest to release this video, not least to verify its version of events. The BBC has not seen the events before or after the collision. The US initially said the confrontation lasted around 30 to 40 minutes. On Wednesday night, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said, "We remain confident in the fact that we've conveyed so far." Now, he said the Pentagon was looking at what video could be released. It is not usual for militaries to take some time to declassify video footages before making it public. Mr. Austin previously described Russia's action as dangerous and reckless, and the edited video release appear to back that up. A feed from a camera fitted under the fuselage of the surveillance drone shows a Russian Su-27 making two extremely close passes while releasing what appears to be fuel as it approaches. In the first pass, it seemed to mirror the lens of the camera. The second pass is even closer, disrupting the video feed from the remotely piloted aircraft. When the picture returned to a blade of the drone propeller at the back of the aircraft can be seen bent out of shape. Now, Russia has claimed the drone was approaching its territory, but all we can see from the video is sea, sky, and cloud. The US insists the drone was being operated in international airspace. But Russia said they didn't do that. Now they said the drone was getting closer to their airspace. So which is which? Well. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, let me bring you this one since we are talking about Russia at the moment. The security building on fire in Russia's Rostov-on-Don. Now, what has happened? At least one person has been killed and two injured in the fire at a building used by Russia's Federal Security Services, the FSB, in the northern city of Rostov-on-Don. Russian media says. Now, dramatic footage on social media shows a large blaze with smoke visible all over the city. Rostov's regional governor said a short circuit appeared to have caused the fire, which ignited fuel tanks. The street where the building is located has been cordoned off. The blaze occurred at a building belonging to the FSB's regional border patrol section in a built-up area of the city. The FSB is Russia's internal security services and is responsible for counterintelligence, border security, and counter-terrorism. Well, it is all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. And still, they wouldn't allow me to go, but still bringing you. So it looks like today, most of the stories are coming on the international scene, coming from Russia. But this, I've not verified. But Bakhmut, Russia casualties mount, but tactics evolve. Ukraine has drawn a line in the dirt, and that line is Bakhmut. It is a city that few say matters strategically, but the tens of thousands have died fighting over. It began more than 7 months ago and is the longest battle of the war so far. Now, two Ukrainian army brigades defending the city's southern flank gave access to their position last week as fierce fighting continued in around Bakhmut. The men have spent months facing both regular Russian army forces and prisoners recruited by the Wagner private military groups who have swarmed their trenches in droves. Now, troops say Russia's casualties far outweighs theirs, but the enemy is deploying new techniques to try to seize the city and surrounding countryside. The Ukraine forces are outgunned and outnumbered, but on a chalk hillside to the south, there is the anti-tank group from the 3rd Separate Assault Brigade, 3 Storm, as they are known, are unyielding. They've dug trenches deep into the earth. Timber props supporting the roofs shatter as Russian artillery lands in the near distance, and field mice scurry along dark boats. An antiquated field telephone sit in the wooden nook. These are conditions their grandfathers would recognize. That is in the Second World War, on the First World War, stuff like that. But what do you think about all that? Now, when would this end? It looks like total destruction is the only solution. One other story, and then we'll move on. The entire Russian spy network dismantled in Poland. Now, Poland has charged 6 foreign citizens with preparing acts of sabotage and spying for Russia. Interior Minister Mariusz Kamiński has said. Now, Mr. Kamiński said the 6 were foreigners from across the eastern border, and they had sought to disrupt military and aid supplies to Ukraine. Now, prosecutors are currently preparing proceedings against 3 other people also detained in the operation. Mr. Kamiński said the cell has been preparing sabotage actions in Poland. Evidence indicates that this group monitored railway lines. Their tasks included recognizing, monitoring, and documenting weapons transports to Ukraine, Mr. Kamiński told a news briefing on Thursday morning. The suspects were also preparing sabotage actions aimed at paralyzing the supply of equipment, weapons, and aid to Ukraine. Now, 6 of the suspects have been charged with conducting espionage for Russia and participating in an organized criminal group after they were detained as part of an operation conducted by Poland's internal security agency, the ABW. It is Starr Radio, okay? It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Well, in reaction to the budget, the spring budget that was read yesterday by the Chancellor of the Exchequer, analysts from the IFS think tank have given their analysis of Chancellor Jeremy Hunt's budget, and they say it is difficult to calculate the effect childcare and pension changes will have on the workforce. Now, Hunt says extending free childcare to include younger children will make it easier for the more parents to work. Now, his Labour shadow counterpart Rachel Reeves criticized the speed at which his plan would be introduced, but did not offer an alternative time frame. On pensions, Hunt says scrapping the £1 million tax-free cap on savings will keep key NHS staff from retiring, but can't say how many. Now, Labour has vowed to reverse the move, saying it only helps the richest in the country. Now, so what do you think? With all that happened yesterday, how do you think it's impacting you? Do you think you're going to benefit from it? As I did say, we'll do our best to see whether we can get our main man, Mr. Dan Teberi, tomorrow answering some questions or throwing or shedding more light on it for you if you have not been able to have that. But TikTok Chinese app TikTok is to be banned on UK government phones. Is one of the stories making the round. The Chinese-owned social media app TikTok is said to be banned on phones and other devices used by government ministers and civil servants and on security grounds. Cabinet Minister Oliver Dowding will make a statement to MPs later. There has been no official comment, but Security Minister Tom Togenat had asked the National Cyber Security Center to review the issue. Now, TikTok has strongly denied allegation that it hands users' data to the Chinese government. A number of government departments have TikTok accounts, and the Ministry of Defense uploaded a video of a Challenger 2 tank type being supplied to Ukraine to its account this morning. So they are using it. But they are saying that, you know what, we think it's not good. We think that they are spying on us, and therefore we're going to be banning it on all government phones. What do you think? Do you fall victim to that? And how do you think that is going to impact you? Well, it's coming your way from Starr Radio UK. Well, evacuated Afghan women's team includes false footballers. So what is that? Now let me bring it out, and then we will have one other story. Then we go. A high-profile evacuation to the UK of Afghan female footballers fleeing the Taliban included a number of women who were not the top-tier players that it was claimed. Now, 35 women and their families, 130 people in total, were flown to the UK from Pakistan in November 2021. Now, women's footballers were seen to be at risk from the Taliban, and some feared they would be punished for participating in a sport the new regime viewed as un-Islamic. Now, they were granted visas by the Home Secretary. However, Newsnight has had access to the list of evacuees that was submitted to the British authorities in order to obtain entry to the UK. Now, while the names and other identity details are genuine, the description of the principal applicants as national players or members of the regional team in some cases appear to be false. Now, information coming through from the BBC spoke to a number of former Afghan players, coaches and officials who identified 13 individuals who were believed were not members of the teams listed. Now, many of the evacuees were described as members of the Herat youth team, but Newsnight tracked down the team's former coach, Najibullah Norouzi, who now works in women's football in Italy. He says that when he saw the list of people who were evacuated, he wondered if some of them had ever visited the Herat football ground, let alone play for the national team. I've seen people in the list who have not even won a football strip in Herat. Well, somebody will say desperate situation calls for desperate measures. So these people thought that, well, the best way forward is to just say that we are footballers. Now, after all, we got there. And I remember back in the day when Ghanaians, lots of Ghanaians went to Nigeria during that time, and then some got to the place and they were not builders. They were some of them didn't have any trade, and they said that, you know what, I'm amazing, you know, I've got. And then I think some of them were said to have been building. When it gets to the plastering bit, my goodness, they didn't have a clue how to, because, you know, when you're plastering, if the wall is dry, then you just take the mixed cement and they just put it there, it will just come off. Now, apparently, some of them were standing there holding the whole thing, and they were saying that, well, now the Nigerian sand, it wasn't good for plastering. Well, until some of them who were experts themselves or builders themselves told them what to do. But it looks like that's the same thing that is happening here. They were not footballers, but so you need to teach them how to play, Abby. Who knows? Well, it's all coming away from Starr Radio UK. The final story, and then I bring the program to a close this morning, and it pertains to NHS close to pay deal to avert more NHS strikes. Now, the story says a pay deal between health unions and the government in England is expected to be announced this afternoon. The government offers includes a bonus likely to be in excess of £1,000 for this year and a rise of close to 5% for the next financial year starting in April. Now, negotiators on both sides have agreed it's the best deal they can get to. Now, unions are now expected to recommend it to members in a vote, but it's unclear yet how many of the 14 unions involved will do that. A statement is expected in the coming hours. The talks have lasted nearly 2 weeks. The offer covers all the NHS staff except doctors who are on a different contract. It comes after a winter of the industrial action, which has seen nurses, ambulance staff, and physios all go on strike. The unions involved in the current talks but put further action on hold after the government agreed to enter discussions last month. So we'll see what will happen on that front. But ladies and gentlemen, this is where I bring the program to a close for today. This evening, as I did say earlier on, we're going to be having KB Bossman and Vicky Newton hosting Tony Davidson on the Property Hour show. So So make a date with them when they come your way. They'll be looking at women property entrepreneurs and their success story, celebrating Women's Month and International Women's Day. So this is where I bring the program to a close for today. So don't you go away at all. But remember, this evening is going to happen live. Mika Paris says positivity. And I think we need some of that today, right? Okay. Enjoy the tune. And when it ends, you don't hear from me. It's been me, your one and only Archie, saying, have a top of the day. And bye-bye for now.
Sunrise wanted to play. Shake my hair and watch it fall into
This is Starr Radio UK.
Face my worries and I'm walking away.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening.